Okay, welcome back. So today we're going to be covering lab exercise 7, which is Excel math stuff, working with Excel math functions. Okay, so the batch of data we have here is about 10,000 transaction records. And if you open up the Excel document US sales data, and you see there's like a whole bunch of transactions there. Uh, and every transaction has a bunch of fields associated with it. Mostly what we're going to be doing is working with sales, quantity, discount, and profit. The sales are grouped by state. So you can see it starts off alphabetically with Alabama, then goes to Arizona, then Arkansas, and so on. And so they're all grouped by state. So they're all, for any given state, it's going to be one continuous chunk of records. Okay, first thing we're going to do, we're going to make a new worksheet for Idaho and then do some math around that, some sums and averages. And that's what we'll be doing for a little while, just to get the hang of how that goes. So to make a new worksheet, click on the plus down here in the bottom, and then right click where it says sheet 1 to get to rename. We're going to rename it ID for Idaho and hit enter, and then you're done. Now for the orders, we can just search for Idaho, and there aren't very many Idaho orders, so we can just grab that complete set of rows, make sure you get the proper first one and last one, all those Idaho records, and then copy it into the new worksheet and paste, okay? If you want to use buttons, I like using keyboard because I'm old school, but if you want to use the buttons or right click with the mouse to get to those options, those are all fine too. In column C and D, you'll see there's a bunch of pound symbols. That means that there's not enough space in the column to display the complete text. So we can stretch those out a little bit this way and then repaint the format over here so its stuff shows a little cleaner. Then we're going to add 4 new rows above the data so we have room to do our stuff. So click in row 1 here, right click on it and do insert. That'll add a new row. You do that 3 more times. Or again, if you want to do the keyboard, you can do Alt I and then R and Alt I and R and Alt I and R to add in 3 new rows that way. Okay, in row 4 above this data, we're going to put in our column headings. So scroll back up to the top of the original data, grab those column headings, and we're going to paste them into our document. Okay, and then above each result, we're going to do a few things, right? So we have 4 things we're going to enter. And so I'm going to put the headings up above them. So B2 will have sum of sales. So in B1, I'm going to put sum of sales. D1, I'll put average of sales. F1 put sum of quantities. And H2 put average of quantities. Okay, so, and down in B2, sum of sales. So that's going to equal sum of R5 to R25. All right, and you can see it lights up in blue in both in the formula we've typed and in the range we've selected. Okay, so the rest of these I'm just going to type in. So average of sales, again in R, but we use the average function. So again, R5 to R25. Sum of quantities, quantities are in the S column, so the sum will be sum of S5 to S25. And the average of quantities will be average of S5 to S25. Okay, that's our Idaho worksheet. All right, next one we're going to do Arizona and then Virginia. So we'll start off with Arizona, make a new worksheet. So again, click on the plus, right click on the new sheet name, rename it to AZ for Arizona. Okay, we'll go back to orders. And as it happens, there's a fair amount of Arizona data, right? It starts right here in this cell, in this row, and we can scroll down and there's a fair number of them, right? So there it is in row, whatever, 200 something, 286, I guess. And you could do it that way. You could select that block of rows and that's fine, but I'm going to show you a different way. We can use filters. So you can click in the top row here so it knows that you're looking at that row and then go over to get filters. All right. And to do the filter, we click on this drop-down menu by state, deselect by clicking the select all, and then select just Arizona. Click OK, and boom, now it only shows the Arizona records. So click in the second row, because we don't want to include the headers in this, and we're going to do Control Shift and down arrow to select that whole range. And then we can copy that and paste it into the Arizona worksheet. Now, if you had trouble doing that, it's fine. You can just go back and, select the rows the regular way, but I think that's a little easier. Okay, so once again, I'm going to add insert 4 rows above that block of data. And then in row 4, we're going to paste the headings. Okay, so again, to get rid of the filters, because we don't want those drop-down menus, right? We're just going to click that, boom, restore the order sheet to its original state, and then copy all of them, copy that first row into the 4th row of our Arizona sheet. Okay, now we're going to do one more thing here. We're going to add in a new derived field called unit price in column V. So in cell 4, V4, we're going to make that heading, make that column label, unit price, and unit price will be sales divided by quantity. So over here, we use the entries from column 5 equals R5 divided by S5, sales divided by quantity. Once we've entered that in, we can grab that fill handle on that cell and run it all the way to the bottom of the column so that we have an entry for each one. Okay, now we filled out that column. We have unit price for every record. Okay, and so the math we're going to do this again, couple averages, couple sums, and I'm just going to put the headings up above and then put in the values down below. So this one will be average of discounts. E2 will have average of unit prices. G2 will have sum of profit, and I2 will have sum of quantity. Okay, so the average discount values are in column T. So we'll go from equals average of T5 all the way down to find that last column, T228. Okay, so you could just grab the cell and, stretch it down like that if you like. All right, but we're gonna do, I don't know why we have a little problem there. Okay, let's edit that. And there it's correct. Okay, T5 to T228. Okay, next one, average of unit price. Unit price is in column V. So we're going to do average of B5 to B228. Again, if you want to select all that with the cursor, that's fine too. Okay, sum of profit equals sum. Profit column is column U. So once again, U5 to U228, all of those records. And then sum of quantity is in column S, so equals sum of S5 to S228. Ta-da. Okay, and that's our Arizona worksheet. Now the Virginia worksheet, we're going to make a new Virginia worksheet. So let's create a new worksheet, rename it, call it VA for Virginia. And in this one, we're going to get all the Virginia records. Again, there's a couple hundred of those. So I'm going to use the filter to get that. So back to filter, apply it, and select the state. Scroll down to the bottom, select the state Virginia. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. And now once again, we filtered out everything that isn't Virginia. So you can click on the second row, do Control Shift down arrow to select all those records, and then paste them into the Virginia worksheet. Okay, once again, I'm going to stretch out column C and D a little bit, right, and add 4 new rows above the top column. Okay. So for this one, we're going to have a different derived field in column V. We'll call it profit percentage. So first, let's copy in the headings from our original worksheet. Scroll back up to the top and remove the filter and select row 1, copy it, and paste it in here in row 4. And then in column V, we're going to put in profit percent. All right, profit percentage will be profit divided by sales. So in this case, U5 divided by R5, okay? Profit divided by sales. Once again, we can grab that fill handle, scroll it all the way down, and then we can change it to a percentage. And if you like, you could add a couple decimal places. Okay, so there it is. There's our percentage. Now we're going to do some more sums and averages here. So I'll put in the headings first and then the values below. So D1, I'll type in average profit percent, F1, sum of profit, G1, sum of sales, I1, sum of profit divided by sum of sales. Okay, and K2, well, type in K1, sum of profit divided by sum of quantities. Okay, so average profit, profit is in column U, so average, okay, and once again, I'll click to start and then we'll just remember the rows, 5 to, once again, 228. How about that? Okay, and that is done. Sum of profit will be sum of U5 to U228, okay? Sum of sales would be, sales are in column R, sum of R5 to R228, excuse me. Sum of profit divided by sum of, what's that? Sum of quantity up above, sum of sales. Okay, so we're going to divide the sum, so calculate sum of profits are in column U, so U5 to U228 divided by the sum function of sales in column R, so R5 to R228, okay? And then last one, sum of profit divided by sum of quantities, right? So the average profit per quantity, we're going to get the sum from the U column divided by the sum of the S column. Sum of U5 to U228 divided by sum of S5 to S228. Okay. And that's all our stuff for the Virginia worksheet. Okay. Now, a couple more things. First of all, we're going to do the sum product function. So I'm going to introduce that. What sum product is basically if you have two rows and you want to multiply the pairs of numbers together. So the first column in each row, add that to the product of the numbers in the second column of each row and so on. Or you can do it as columns as well. So you have two lists of numbers, you pair them together, multiply them together, add up all those sums. So let's make a new worksheet. We'll call it sum product. Okay, and we're going to enter in some data. I'll zoom in a little bit so for this one so it's easy to see. And we're going to do A1, B1 is 2, A2 is 3, B2 is 4. So just those four little numbers there. And we're going to do a very simple sum product with this. So in A4 here, we're going to write the formula equals sum product A1 to B1 and A2 to B2. Okay. And so what that's going to be is our first range is A1 to B1. Our second range is A2 to B2. So our sum product is going to be A1 times A2 plus B1 times B2. Okay. And we get 11. Over here in D1, we're going to do it the other way. So here it's going to be sum product A1 to A2 and B1, B2. So here the two series are in columns. We'll multiply the first row of each column together, then the second row of each column together. And there's only two rows, so that's it, right? So we'll have 1 times 2 plus 3 times 4. Okay, so that's how sum product works. All right, now we're going to do a little bit more with sum product with our Illinois data. So let's make one more new worksheet. It's our last one. We're going to rename it to IL for Illinois. Okay, we're going to grab all the data from Illinois. I'll use the filter again for that. And we'll select state, select all, Illinois, okay, boom. All right, so once again, select row 2, scroll all the way down, grab that whole big block of records. There's a bunch of them this time, and paste it in. Okay, once again, let's stretch out those date columns a little bit. And we're going to put in 4 new rows above the top row. So Alt-IR, 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 and Alt-IR. Okay, we're going to copy that original headings row. All right, so let's first undo the filter, and then we're going to grab the filter, that row, and paste it into our row 4 of our Illinois worksheet. Okay, we're going to add in a couple new fields here. So again, unit price in column V and unit profit in column W. So here, unit price, and then the second one, unit profit. Okay, so in V5, right, we're going to do the first one for unit price. Unit price is again sales divided by quantity. So it is going to equal R5 divided by S5. Right, it'll be the proper pair of numbers for, that record. For unit profit, we are going to calculate the amount of profit divided by the quantity. Okay, so the profit per unit sold. So is equal to U5 divided by S5, profit divided by quantity. Okay, now you can do these separately with autofill, but of course we can also grab both of them at the same time and do it in one shot. So that's how we'll do that. Fill out all that all the way down to the bottom. Boom. Okay, so we've used all the autofill for all the auto records, for all the sales records. Anyway, four more operations to do here: sum of sales, sum product, sum of profits, and sum product. All right, and these pairs are going to be the same because by definition they will be. So let's talk. First one, sum of sales. D2 and D1, we're going to put, I'll do SP for sum product of quantity and unit price. Okay, and those should be the same. So I'll do those first. So sum of sales is simply going to be, we add up all these sales numbers. So equals, equals S sum of S5, sum of R5 rather, to, I'm going to grab all that going down to, let's see where we get. Oops, something went wrong there in the formula. That's the second time that happened. Bumping keys here that I don't mean to. Okay, R5 to R496. We're going to remember that 496. Okay. I'm using tab. You can use tab to move to right and shift tab to move back to the left is how I'm navigating that. Okay, so that's our sum of sales. Now, if we do the sum product of quantity and unit price, we're basically saying, well, for every record, we're going to multiply its quantity times its unit price, which is going to equal the sales, right? How many we sold times what they each cost, right? That's going to be our sales for that record. And you can just eyeball that. This is 36.792. 4 times 9 is 36, and a little bit more, take my word for it, that times 0.198 times 4 is going to be the 7.92 that's missing. So these two are going to be definitionally the same. So if we've done it correctly, they'll match up. All right, so we'll do a sum product of quantity. So S5 to S, 496, right? And we're going to multiply that by the unit price. So V5 to V496. And if we've done that correctly, it should add up. Boom, same number, right? A little bit of a rounding issue, but that's okay. It's going to be the same numbers. Okay, next one, F2, sum of all profits. Let's do F1, sum of profit. And in I2, we're going to have another one that's definitionally the same. Sum product of quantity and unit profit. Okay, so sum of profit, we just add up everything in column U. So sum of U5 to U496. And for sum of quantity, I'm going to be OCD and fix that typo. Okay, sum of quantity, sum product of quantity and unit profit. We're going to multiply every quantity times the unit profit. Once again, unit profit times quantity is definitionally equal to the profit. So this sum product should equal the other column, the sum of profit column, except possibly for some rounding errors, right? Or just display errors. The math should be the same. These are really not even rounding, they're just display errors. Okay, so quantity is in S column S, so equals sum product S5 to S496, and then unit profit is going to be in column W, again from row 5 to row 496. Okay, and hit enter, and they are both the same. Let's just add an extra decimal place to this. There it is, and those two are exactly the same as they should be. Okay. And this is it. This concludes the lab exercise. So what we did, we covered some stuff with getting data from worksheets, introduced filtering a little bit, um, making new worksheets, doing some work with the sum and average and sum product functions, which are all pretty useful in real life. All right. Well, we'll talk to you next time.